It's a show about violence, but we don't show any violence. There's no brutality of women that's shown in any way, and that was really important to us.
Well, welcome, Annaleigh. So excited for the premiere of Happy Face. Would you tell us a little bit about what fans can expect from the series moving forward?
Yes, this is a true crime show from a different perspective. It's from the daughter of a serial killer's perspective, based on the real true story of Melissa Moore, who was the daughter of the Happy Face killer.
Now, were you familiar with Melissa's story at all before you joined onto this project, or to what extent?
Yeah, I was familiar with these cases, with this
Mhm.
murder, and then I was also familiar with her podcast, Melissa Moore's podcast, Happy Face.
Mhm.
But what I was really excited to learn about as I did a deep dive in my research is Melissa's advocacy work in the true crime space. She has been such a champion of um, the lack of respect and empathy that is given to the families of the victims and the families of the perpetrators when we explore true crime stories in this like true crime sort of machine that we all consume.
Absolutely. It's an interesting perspective to have, and especially to get to work with so closely because, Melissa is an executive producer on the series. Can you tell me a little bit about working with her and how that shaped your performance, shaped your perspective?
Well, as we started working on the piece, I had an incredible blueprint from our writer, showrunner, Jen Casisio, and then I was able to flesh everything out with not only the podcast, but Melissa Moore's book. And
Mhm.
then Melissa was so open and generous and kind and offered us, any research materials that she thought we might needed, and we had complete access to anything we needed from her. But what I think was most compelling for us as we created the show was her, again, her advocacy and the act of service that she has provided, and her knowledge of the true crime space was really helpful in creating our show. It's a show about violence, but we don't show any violence. There's no brutality of women that's shown in any way, and that was really important to us.
Yeah, that's a really new take in the true crime space, and it feels like something that we're societally kind of pushing towards. What do you hope that either fans of true crime or people who are not into true crime can get out of this show as they watch?
I think I'm reminded of something I heard Melissa say as we've been, presenting the show to the world. We've gotten to spend quite a bit of time together, and she said, crime, when a violent act is committed, it touches both sides of the courtroom, in a horrendous way. There's your life before that act of violence and your life after. But the victim and the victim's families are are the people that we need to focus on most. And we need to make sure that they are taken care of when we tell their stories. They need to have agency, and they so often don't when we tell their stories.
Absolutely. Well, it's an important message and also just a wonderful performance from everyone who is involved. Tell me a little bit about working with Dennis Quaid as this kind of interesting father daughter relationship.
Yeah, we often talk about the chemistry that you have with another actor in romantic scenes, but we forget to talk about the chemistry that you need when you have familial relationships and scenes. And so the chemistry between the two of us as father and daughter was pivotal because it helps the audience understand the inner struggle that Melissa navigates, in being somebody like that's daughter. Um, and so I would say that his performance is so complicated and nuanced. Yes, he's the serial killer that we are afraid of and who's manipulative and nasty and terrifying, but he's also vulnerable and loving, which makes it really confusing and really complicated for the audience to watch, and helps the audience understand Melissa's inner struggle.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to see a very nuanced performance from you as well. Was there anything that, looking back, you're particularly proud of with this show, with this performance?
I was really overwhelmed when I first met Melissa at her generosity of spirit, and most of all the empathy that she carries, which is the opposite of her father. She will never
Mhm.
be her father. She is not her father. And I felt like it was really important to show how wonderful she is with people and how connected she is to other humans. And um, I think that in the writing and in the directing and in the storytelling, I hope that we've showed audiences how wonderful her spirit is.
Absolutely. Well, I cannot wait for everyone to get to see the premiere. Is there anything else that you want people to know before they get to watch Happy Face?
This show has a lot of cliffhangers. So every week that you tune in at the end of the week, you'll be wanting to tune back in next week to find out, what happened and who you think did this.
Oh, well, I am super excited to watch the rest of the season. Thank you so much for your time today.